Hey guys, here I have the all-new refreshed 2025 Neo ES6. Now, one of the bigger changes is that instead of a regular traditional gear shifter, now it's a column-mounted shifter here. So that change also brings you two wireless front charging pads and one with ventilated as well. These support up to 25 watts. I think on the main one is 50 watts. Now the screen, instead of being the vertical layout, now it uses the brother brand, the Envo horizontal style. That is quite nice. And now for this guy, for Nomi, instead of twisting only left and right, now you can do this. Now it does make a funky noise. Yeah, now it does make a funky noise and a voice telling you that, ouch, it hurts. But yeah. Now, other change is that on the big head-up display, when you turn on your turn signal, the blind spot monitoring camera pops up there instead of on the traditional screen. Now, let's see how this one drives. Now, we are starting just in comfort mode. So, for the 2025 Neo ES6, all is coming standard, the soft closed doors and front ventilated, heated, and massage seats, and everything that you don't see as physical buttons on the screen can be adjusted via Nomi. Now, one other thing is that this still doesn't have air suspension as standard. What it does is a CDC adjustable dynamic right suspension control. What that brings to you is different driving modes. So in your drive mode settings, you have Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, and you have a rear second row passenger luxury. So that we could experience in just a bit. Of course, Eco. You can always customize this and change pretty much everything from your acceleration figures, your suspension softness, steering adjustments, your energy recuperation. So for myself, if I prefer to drive in normal recuperation, that kind of simulates a one-pedal drive as you would find in the Mercedes EQE or the Tesla Model Y. But Neo doesn't bring you to a complete stop, so in order to come to a stop at the stoplight, you do have to put your foot on the brake. Now, when you are stopped, if you push harder, the auto hold feature automatically engages. So there's no need to look for any buttons to activate auto hold. That's quite nice. I think this is something that traditional manufacturers should really learn to do. Now, that being said, everything, including the driving modes, can be changed via Nomi. So if you want to do Eco mode, you can just simply ask, "Hey Nomi,
在呢，
驾驶模式调至节能。
确定要帮你切换为节能吗？
确定。
驾驶模式切换好了。
There. Now you also see that indicated on the head-up display as well as on your front driver side screen here. Now that is very nice that Nomi gives you a second chance confirmation, because changing something like your driving modes, pretty much everything that's related to driving safety, does require a confirmation in my opinion. It's your best bet for safety measurements. Now talking about safety, this car has a load suite of active safety features, including the AES, so autonomous emergency steering. So if Nomi detects or Neo detects there is a front crash impreventable, then it will actually steer the steering wheel for you. From the test videos I've seen online, it will actually honk the horn or flash the lights, which is quite nice. Now we're going over some rougher roads and some potholes and sewers. Now this active suspension is very, very enjoyable. It's not the smoothest, but for a big car like this, a quite heavy car sitting on 100 kilowatt battery, it is very, very smooth, very luxurious. Now there, in normal recuperation, I let off the gas pedal, the regen kicks in instantly. Of course, you can configure that from Nomi as well. Now back in comfort, the car can just coast. Very nice. Of course, this being a Nomi, it also has the NeoPilot. Now, they've changed the name for this just a bit, so I'm not quite sure if it's still called the NeoPilot. Activating it is very simple. Just press this button here, and then it tells you. Okay, it doesn't see the line on the road, so it did that. But usually, once it sees clear 2 lane markings, it will do that. You could increase the speed. Press once by 5. You can press and hold. That will give you more micro increments of 1 kilometers per hour. And that is quite nice. And Now, on the head-up display, you're also seeing the SR visual representation. This uses the LiDAR on the top of the car, as well as all the ultrasonic sensors and the um, cameras around the car. That is quite good to see. Definitely one of the better safety measurements. So if you flick on your turn signal, of course you can, the car will, okay, it's doing some really interesting things.
Pilot
I'm just gonna cancel it right now. Yes, at the end of the day, this is not the Tesla FSD level. I know that in China there's the Huawei self-driving, or well, close to self-driving system that's quite nice, but everything at the end of the day, by legal regulations, is still considered level 2 adaptive or assistant driving features. So yeah, you do have to keep your eyes on the road, keep your hands on the steering wheel at all times. Now, these two cameras are the drowsiness monitoring or driver attention warning system. When this camera detects that you're not looking forward, or if you're on your phone, if you're talking to the passenger, if you're messing around in the luxurious interior back seats, of course the system will beep at you, and it will also vibrate the steering wheel and the seat as well to let you know that you need to pay attention. Now let's put the car in sport mode, see how this one accelerates. Now all Neos, if you are familiar with, even with the Neo ET7 back in 2022, are very fast. They are incredibly fast at this price range. So here, I'm not gonna come to a full stop, I'm just gonna floor it here. Yeah, it's very fast, just like any other Neos. Now, every spec of Neo from the ET5, ET5 Touring up to ET9 have two electric motors. So one in the front, one in the rear, making the acceleration figure in something close to 4 seconds. And anytime you floor it, now it makes a fake combustion sound from the speakers. Now talking about speakers, we'll do a speaker sound test real quick. These are not branded, these are just Neo speakers, but they do have the virtual 7.1 surround sound, and there are speakers all over the cabin. There's one down here, there's mid-range, there's also headrest speakers, there's speakers on the top of the ceiling everywhere in the front row, passenger side, and second row. There's also the bass speakers in the trunk as well. It is quite nice. I would say that this is definitely a big improvement for Neo, at least on this new Neo ES6 platform. Now, if you are driving the ET5 and ET5 Touring on ES8, you're also gonna be expecting to see this kind of gear shifter and this kind of interior with two charging pads. Now, sadly, I mentioned about the Neo ET7. ET7 and ES7 seem to be forgotten by Neo just now. They are not receiving upgrades anytime soon. But that's the quick driving as well as performance section of the Neo ES6. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I will walk you around on the exterior and interior, as well as testing out the speakers in just a bit. And let me know what you think. So now on the interior of this new 2025 Neo ES6. So like I mentioned in the POV drive section, the gear shifter is now here, column mounted, two wireless front charging pads. Now this one also supports NFC for your Android phone or your Apple phone as a virtual key card. Cup holders. Center armrest can be opened on either side. Now this horizontal screen is now better resolution, also better smoothness. Now I think that having test drove so many different cars, including many Chinese brands, the Nomi system on the Neo cars infotainment system is probably the smoothest. Now this is on the same level as the Xiaomi OS as well as the Tesla. But as you may have known, that Tesla uses a different chip, so it uses a computer AMD Ryzen processor, versus these are all the same as you would find in other smartphones and Androids. So yeah, this is pretty impressive. Now the settings, it's very similar to the previous generation, except that for the doors now on standard, all four doors of the ES6, so this is not an option anymore, is the soft close. You can choose to have manual operation, you can have soft close, and there are also shortcuts for your doors. Now the door is still traditional Neo in terms of not having a kind of traditional door control. It's just a button. But this is pretty intuitive because usually you will push forward to close, to open any window, and you will put up or pull towards you to close the window. And it's still the same. Now talking about windows, all new ES6 have double layer acoustic glass all around. So that is very, very nice to see. Of course, the head-up display, everything can be adjusted by the screen or using the Nomi Pilot. Hey Nomi,
我在。
调节抬头显示高度，
具体要怎么调节呢？
高一点
可以在屏幕上操作哦。已经将高度调到最高了。
低一点，
好的。
再低一点。
也可以使用方向盘右侧。好的。也可以
So there.
使用方向盘右侧按键调节高度。
It's telling me that I can change everything on the steering wheel when it pops up. But of course, the voice assistant can do most of the stuff on the
这个
interior.
问题有点出乎我的意料，
Hey,
让我
Nomi.
先去研究一下。我在。
没事了。
好的，我走了。
Yeah, just like pretty much any Chinese car, if you're familiar with them, then the voice assistant kind of has a hard time keeping their mouth shut when you need it. But it's kind of expected. Honestly, the same issue happens to my Mercedes EQE SUV as well. I always have a hard time interrupting it or not trying to interrupt or wake it up. But that's fine. It brings us a lot of luxury features. Now, of course, in the screen, you have your tire temperature and your tire pressure. Not sure if this system can be configured into English. I actually can, I think. Nice. That's good to know. A lot of the Chinese cars, when I test them, even the ones that I get to live for, I guess to live with for a whole day, I don't figure out how to change the language. That's quite nice. So now, my Nomi, there's also the different voice. You could change the voice tone, the style, voice, and you can have a hat to enter there, but it just shows up as a name. There's different talk zones, so it can recognize if you are the driver, if you are the front passenger, the rear passenger, and everything. That's quite nice. There's the continued dialogue, so that's what I'm talking about. So you don't have to wake Nomi up every time. And I am not sure if I can do English on this Nomi. Let's try it out. Hi Nomi.
在呢。
Okay, so it's still 没事了。
好的，下次见。
Okay, so even when you configure the interface to be in English, the Nomi, it's still, well, at least for the Chinese market,
好了，
it's
不要扭我了。
it's still.
我的脖子酸酸的，再扭就要伤到了。
That's quite cute. It's telling me that don't twist my neck, it's gonna break, and it kind of hurts. That's very cute. Now, Nomi used to be an option. I think for 2025 model year and onwards, all Neo should have Nomi as standard. I think it used to be a pricey add-on. Same with the zero gravity seats and massage. Now that is still an option. The Queen's passenger seat. You can activate it. You can activate it on the screen or on the side of the chair, or you can just have Nomi do it. Now back to what I was talking about. So all of these configurations, the most important one is this, the Nomi GPT. So this will give Nomi give the car's camera the capability to pick up surroundings and use them to kind of search up on the internet. So here's a quick demonstration. Hey Nomi.
嘿，
前面是什么小区？
让我来探索下。前面的小区是一些美居，位于济南市历城区王舍人街道，是一个温馨的住宅小区。我来啦。
没事了。
好的，回头见。
So that was quite interesting. I gotta say, the first time I tried that out, it scared the crap out of me because Nomi just turned her head around all the way to kind of pretend looking there, but the camera's not on here. It's the top camera next to the LiDAR on the top of the vehicle. It's quite nice. It's also the interior driver monitoring camera. This can also be used to check on your second row passengers and your seats. Now I do see the ISOFIX on both the second row passenger seats, so that's quite nice. I bet it will be easy to install child seats. The headrest also adjustable, just like the same on many luxury German brands. Ventilated, massaged, as I've mentioned. Now let's give a quick test on the speakers. I don't have my phone paired up because all Nomis don't support Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. What it does have is it has its own kind of UI and infotainment system that has the app store, so you could install anything. And I don't have QQ Music paired up on here. I have the NetEase music. So let me quickly find something that can be played and test out how the speaker sounds. So just to remind you, I am recording using the regular DJI mic mini that's wirelessly paired up with my DJI Action 4. So I don't have the Roland in-ear binaural microphone with me on this trip. So the audio quality is not going to be the best. And I have to find something that's not copyright striked. I think that will be quite challenging. Let's see if I can find some. There we go. We do have one. Let's see how this one sounds. So yeah, it is quite loud of a system. I don't think there's any improvement over the previous Nomis or the previous Neo cars. I think it's still the Dolby 7.1 surround sound. Now it does sound quite good, but when you crank it up, there is some significant distortion on the bass and the mid-range. So I can't find many, I don't want to spend time finding too many copyright sounds. If you're interested, let me know in the comment section, and I'll just come back to the same car and plug in my phone or have a USB stick. I don't even know if this car takes a USB stick. Plug in the USB stick with uncompressed WAV file to test out the speaker more in depth. But yeah, like I was saying, I don't think there's a huge improvement over the previous ones. There's a lot of speakers. You can definitely feel that. But having listened to so many good top tier car audio manufacturers or speakers, this is, it doesn't impress me. It's loud enough and it definitely jams, and the Nomi was jamming with me as well. The head was nodding and everything. It's very good, and I bet if you play on better music and have, you know, better music source, it's gonna sound even more impressive. But yeah, it's very adequate. This is not an option anymore. The speakers, they give you all of this, I think like 20 something. There's like literally 2000 watts or like 1500 watts something of the entire total output. I don't see it as branded. It just says Dolby Atmos, which is, you know, it's very nice. It looks very nice. Is it as good as the Burmester? I don't think so. It's definitely not a competitor when you fight it against, what are those ones? The Audi, the Bang and Olufsen, or the Bowers and Wilkins on the Volvo and higher end BMWs. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys, on sitting in the driver's side and messing with the screen of this. This is a very nice improvement. So the screen is no longer vertical, which means that if you have navigation going when you're driving, you can kind of just use your peripheral vision to see what's going on in the navigation. And the head-up display, I'm personally not the biggest fan of having head-up display in cars because I see them as kind of distracting in sometimes, especially when you're driving at night, or the sun is shining directly on the car in front of you, and the car in front of you happens to be a white colored car. So I turned that off in my EQE SUV. But there has been some good ones. I test drove the Xiaomi U7 Max. You could check that out in my video, in my YouTube video channel, and that has the I don't know what it's called anymore. The kind of, it's hidden underneath, just underneath the screen or the front windshield, and you could check that out. That is probably the best head-up display or head-up display alternative I've ever tested. But it's good that Neo still gives you one, unlike some other brands like Tesla. I've been driving a lot of Teslas these days. There's literally nothing, and the Tesla speakers, they are all right, but not the same level as this. I know I did say that I'm not impressed by this system, but still, it's one of the better ones. It's probably one of the best at this price range. Now, everything you see here can be configured on the steering wheel button as well as on here. You can have your favorite menu, your music playing, and all of that, your consumption. Now, in my previous experience driving different Neo cars, including the ET5T and the ET9, the two-row, four-seater luxury executive sedan, or a executive saloon, the consumption on all Neos are very high. They're quite thirsty. As you can see that we're sitting at 80% of charge and it's only doing CLTC of 400 kilometers. CLTC is probably, you have to divide it by, I don't know, probably it only can do 80% of what this claims. But this car has battery swap, and if you do order this car in China or in Europe, if you go with the Neo BAS system, the BAAS, which is their battery leasing program, then yeah, you can get this car very cheap. It can start easily cheaper than the Tesla Model Y or the ET5T. Let me see if I can find one in the lot. I think that one is the ET5T next to the Neo Firefly. That you could easily spec that to be cheaper if you're going with the battery leasing program, to be cheaper than the Tesla Model 3 Highland. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I will show you the interior one more time and walk you around. Oh, there's a passengers or like a second row screen. You can control the vents and probably play music and your seat adjustments here as well. I'm gonna walk you around on the exterior one more time and we'll see how this one feels. Now, all doors are now heavier because they do have soft close. Speakers do look really nice, I gotta say. Let's see how this soft close feels. Yeah, there you have it. A soft close, very nice. Door mirror is quite glossy. It's quite luxurious looking. Is your 360 camera, of course, and then the cameras, the surround view camera for safety measurements. There's also the LiDAR on the top, the 2-lane keep assist, or your ADAS features. They do have the auto defrost, so even in heavy snow and heavy rain, they can still see just fine. Definitely better than a lot of the other systems that's relying purely on a front adaptive cruise control sensor. So of course now with the refresh, you have the kind of thinner eye style front lights. Of course, your high beam is on the bottom. There's real vents on either side of the car. That is very nice. Now this front is looking sharper. This one is the, I think the ES6 white. Yeah, this is still an ES6. So it's bigger than previous gen. No, that's the previous gen, I think ES7, ES6? I'm not quite sure. We could go check it out in a bit. It does look quite different. Than there's the Envo L60 and Envo L90 over there. And one thing that I like about all Neos these days is they have this purple sun or heat isolation, heat insulating, what is this called? The heat insulating acoustic layer on their windscreen. So when you're driving down the road and you see a Neo, it's very recognizable. You see my Mercedes EQE SUV has no purple tint. So yes, tint, that's the word I was looking for. I would actually prefer, I would like to have that done a special color on the front tint, but I don't think it will look that good. Let me know what you think. Now that Neo Firefly, I also get a chance to drive that one. That is purely the car, the beater to the Volkswagen ID.3. Oh yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know what you think about this 2025 Neo ES6. And let me know what the feature you want to see on this car. I can come back here anytime. I could borrow this car for longer if I want. Now charging ports, I bet it's still the same. So it's DC charging port, but you can plug in a converter and use AC charging. The back, it's also refreshed, so it looks quite good. The LED, everything is LED turn signal integrated. Very nice. That's pretty much it, guys. Let me know what you think about this new Neo ES6